Welcome to our exploration of the evidence for Jesus Christ. When speaking with non-believers, they would always bring up that there are no arguments outside of the Bible that confirms the existence of Jesus Christ. Today, we will take a look at a few historical figures that knew about Jesus and his works. Let's begin with Roman historians and Jewish sources, including Tacitus, Suetonius, and Flavius Josephus, who provide crucial insights into Jesus' historical presence. Flavius Josephus, a Jewish historian, corroborates Jesus' existence in his Antiquities of the Jews and the Jewish War. There are two main passages attributed to Josephus that are relevant to the discussion of Jesus: the Testimonium Flavianum. This is the most well-known passage in Josephus's writings that refers to Jesus. It is found in Antiquities of the Jews, Book 18, Chapter 3, Paragraph 3. Here is a summary of what Josephus wrote. Josephus describes Jesus as a wise man, a doer of remarkable deeds, and a teacher followed by many Jews and Greeks. He mentions that Jesus was condemned to death by Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, at the instigation of the Jewish leaders. Josephus states that Jesus' followers, known as Christians, continued to exist and grow after his death. The Testimonium Flavianum is often cited as historical evidence for Jesus' existence, although scholars debate the extent of later Christian interpolations in the passage. The James passage in Antiquities of the Jews, Book 20, Chapter 9, Paragraph 1, Josephus mentions James, who is referred to as the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ. Josephus describes the unlawful execution of James by the high priest Ananus during the period when there was no Roman procurator in Judea. This passage indirectly confirms the existence of Jesus and his familial connection with James, a figure known within early Christian communities. While the authenticity and precise wording of the Testimonium Flavianum have been debated among scholars, the general consensus is that Josephus did mention Jesus in his writings. These references from Josephus contribute to the historical understanding of Jesus as a figure known in Jewish and Roman contexts during the first century. Tacitus, in his work, Annals, mentions Christ and his crucifixion under Pontius Pilate during Emperor Tiberius's reign. Tacitus, Annals, Book 15, Chapter 44. Tacitus, writing around 116 AD, refers to Jesus Christ in his work Annals while discussing the reign of Emperor Nero. He mentions that Nero blamed Christians for the Great Fire of Rome and describes them as followers of a man named Christus. Christ, who suffered crucifixion under Pontius Pilate during the reign of Emperor Tiberius. Tacitus's account confirms the existence of Jesus as a historical figure and provides a non-Christian perspective on early Christian communities and their beliefs. Suetonius, in Lives of the Caesars, Life of Claudius, 25.4, refers to early Christians and their founder, likely a reference to Jesus Christ. He refers to a disturbance among Jews instigated by Chrestus, likely a misspelling of Christus or Christ, during the reign of Emperor Claudius, 4154 AD. This reference indirectly acknowledges the presence and activities of Christians in Rome during the first century and their connection to Jesus Christ. Both Tacitus and Suetonius provide independent attestations to the existence of Jesus and early Christian communities, corroborating aspects of the biblical narrative from a secular historical perspective. Their writings, along with other non-Christian and Jewish sources, contribute to the broader historical context of Jesus' life and the spread of Christianity in the ancient world. Moving on to the non-Christian writer, Marabar Serapion Mara was a Syrian philosopher who lived sometime between the 1st and 3rd centuries CE. He is known for writing a letter to his son, in which he mentions Jesus Christ. The letter is often cited in discussions about historical references to Jesus outside of Christian sources. In the letter, Marabar Serapion refers to Jesus as a wise king of the Jews, noting that he was executed by the Jews. Here is an excerpt from the letter. What advantage did the Jews gain from executing their wise king? It was just after that their kingdom was abolished. Nor did the wise king die for good. He lived on in the teaching which he had given. This passage is significant because it provides non-Christian evidence of Jesus' existence and the impact of his teachings, albeit in a somewhat indirect and brief manner. However, scholars debate the precise dating of Marabar Serapion's letter and the extent of its reliability as a historical source. Overall, Marabar Serapion's letter is one of several ancient non-Christian references to Jesus that scholars examine when studying the historical context of Jesus' life and the early Christian movement. Next is Pliny the Younger, a Roman governor and writer who lived in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. He mentioned Christians and their beliefs in his correspondence with Emperor Trajan. This exchange provides valuable historical insight into early Christian practices and their treatment by Roman authorities. In one of his letters to Emperor Trajan around 112 CE, Pliny the Younger seeks guidance on how to deal with Christians in his region who were brought before him for trial. He describes how he interrogated them, noting that they were devoted to a depraved and excessive superstition involving worshiping Christ as a god. Here's an excerpt from Pliny the Younger's letter to Emperor Trajan, where he discusses Christians. They asserted, however, that the sum and substance of their fault or error had been that they were accustomed to meet on a fixed day before dawn and sing responsively a hymn to Christ as to a god, and to bind themselves by oath, not to some crime, but not to commit fraud, theft, or adultery, not falsify their trust, nor to refuse to return a trust when called upon to do so. Pliny's letter reflects the Roman authorities' concerns about the growing presence of Christianity and their attempts to understand and manage this new religious movement within the empire. It provides valuable historical evidence about early Christian beliefs and practices, as well as the interactions between Christians and Roman officials during that time period. Lastly, and this one is my favorite on this list, let's consider the Shroud of Turin. Though debated, remains a symbol of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. The Shroud of Turin is a centuries-old linen cloth bearing the image of a man that many believe to be Jesus Christ. It is one of the most studied and controversial artifacts related to Christianity. Here are some key points and information about the Shroud of Turin appearance and image. The Shroud of Turin is a rectangular linen cloth measuring about 14 feet long and 3.5 feet wide. It bears the faint, negative image of a man with wounds consistent with crucifixion, including marks on the wrists, feet, and side. History and origin. The exact origins of the shroud are debated, but it is generally believed to have originated in the Middle East during the 1st century. The earliest historical record of the shroud dates back to the 14th century when it was displayed in Lille, France. Religious significance. Many Christians believe that the Shroud of Turin is the burial cloth of Jesus Christ and that the image on the cloth was created at the moment of his resurrection. It is considered a relic and a powerful symbol of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. Scientific studies. The shroud has undergone extensive scientific analysis, including radiocarbon dating, pollen, and textile analysis and forensic examination of the image. The results of these studies have been debated, with some researchers supporting the authenticity of the shroud and others proposing alternative explanations. Controversy and skepticism. The authenticity of the shroud remains a topic of controversy and skepticism among scientists, historians, and theologians. Some skeptics argue that the shroud is a medieval forgery created to enhance the religious significance of the artifact. Exhibition and conservation. The Shroud of Turin is housed in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy. It is rarely displayed to the public, but occasional exhibitions allow visitors to view the cloth and learn about its history and significance. Devotional and cultural impact. Despite the debates surrounding its authenticity, the Shroud of Turin holds immense devotional and cultural significance for many Christians. It has inspired art, literature, and theological reflections on the passion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Overall, the Shroud of Turin remains a deeply intriguing and enigmatic artifact that continues to spark interest and discussion among scholars and believers alike. Remember to read your Bible and do your own research to grow your faith. Thanks for watching.